Welcome to Western New York Tonight. I'm your host, Tammy Lee Demler, and tonight we're going to be talking to a gentleman who is a real cancer survivor, a person who motivates others to not only not give up, but to help others in their journey through life and hopefully having the same successful outcomes. So joining me tonight out of his very busy schedule, we have Todd Sheridan, who is joining us to tell about not only his personal story, but the inspirational and motivational opportunities that he's giving to other people who may be in the same similar circumstance. Is that right, Todd?
Absolutely, hopefully.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem. I appreciate having me.
I'm not going to steal any of your thunder by trying to tell your story, because you're here and I'd like to hear it right from you. So if you're comfortable with that, I'd love to have you tell us what your journey was like through this.
I think the best way to start it is after high school I played 2 years of junior hockey. The 1 year was in Sarnia. I was 20. At the middle of the season, I noticed I had a lump on the right side of my neck. The doctors and I agreed up there. We didn't really think too much of it. It turned out to be a little bit of a mistake, but I finished the season. That was around Christmas time. Got home. I had a surgery to remove what I was told was a cyst on the again the right side of my neck. And about a week later, we got the results back. That was around April 17th, and I found out that it was cancer. And at first, I mean, you know, it's something hard to take, and my mom was there, and obviously, you know, I'm the baby of the family, so it's even harder for her. And then as soon as we found that out, I was looking around for hospitals and places to go, figure out what I needed to do with my life to make sure I can fight this. And at first, the prognosis really wasn't so good, but I found a doctor at University of Pennsylvania who actually found the primary source of my cancer, which ended up being on my tongue. So what was described to me is I technically had stage 3.5 head and neck cancer, which is called squamous cell carcinoma. It's a tough one to spell. But about a couple weeks after that, after my first surgery, I had to wait for an infection that I had to heal. And then I had what was called a radical neck dissection, where they removed about a half dollar size part of my tongue, which luckily has grown back almost completely. And then they removed 72 lymph nodes in the right side of my neck, as well as tissue, a couple muscles. That's why I kind of have like the big scar and a little bit of an indentation, but you know, it is what it is. And ended up having, I think, around 45 staples and 3 drains. And then after everything got all healed, I was told that I needed to go through radiation and chemotherapy. And 6 weeks of that, both at the same time. Truthfully, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, I think the surgery was probably the worst part of it, especially not knowing what to expect from anything. And then after that was all said and done, never really actually lost my hair. It's kind of a funny story because I shaved my head because cancer was kind of taking everything away from me. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to let it take my hair. So I ended up shaving my head, and I found out towards the end of it that I wasn't going to lose my hair anyway. Oh. So.
But you took control of it.
I did. I took control. I felt good. I was getting ready for like a battle, you know. That's what I felt like. But, you know, it didn't always work. But then after that, I was told I had, and I still now have around an 80% chance of everything being okay, nothing coming back. And I was told I'd never play hockey again by the doctors. Luckily, that was the one thing that they were wrong about. They were great at saving my life, so I could never say anything bad about them. But 3 weeks later, I actually practiced with my team in Sarnia. Like 3 weeks after I had everything over and done with, something I wasn't ever supposed to do again. But I snuck out to Sarnia to see if it was possible. And from there, I just, after rehab, trying to get my shoulder back to normal. I have 99% motion. And then it was just trying to get back on track, trying to get my life back together, which I think was probably the hardest part of the whole thing. And the cancer, you know, obviously was tough. But I think the hardest part of everything for me was just afterwards, you kind of don't know, like, where you are. Like, I mean, I spent 6 months as a cancer patient. And at the time, I really wasn't a hockey player anymore, so it was like, oh, wow, what am I? I don't know what I'm doing.
You had like a different label. All of a sudden, you were a patient.
Absolutely, yeah. I had no idea. And then I wasn't even the patient anymore, so it was just like, oh, what's going on? So I had to just try to get something in my life back. And then pretty much hockey was the last thing that I needed to get back, and that's how I ended up in Brockport.
Well, taking a step back, because there's so much information in terms of just, and not only that, but you're so young. You're 23. Yep. Is that right? We can speak that because if you're under 30, it doesn't matter if you say the age, right? You've lived 4 lifetimes, and just in terms of what you've gone through. I mean, living through that moment of that day, you know, I can only imagine how frightening that must have been, especially when you're in a circumstance of looking, you know, at schools, at colleges. You know, how old were you at that time?
I was 20.
20. I mean, people have other things on their agenda. You know, that they're not fighting for their lives. you know.
I spent my 21st birthday getting my last round of radiation. So, yeah.
And you have just the, I mean, you can, I'm sure that people can see it in the viewing audience, what a smile you have and such charisma, but I mean, to see you here talking about your story and the inspiration and the motivation that you have, it's just truly, truly amazing. You're an inspiration to everybody.
Well, it could have been a lot worse for me. I know that. I mean, I had support from everywhere. I mean, everything I know could have been so much worse, and I think a lot of people have it way worse than I do, that overcome even more. But I think with my support, which kind of gave me the motivation, just that you have to go into it and just take everything as it comes, and just beat one thing one at a time. Don't get overwhelmed by the whole big picture, and then just knock down one stone at a time, and then from there, kind of get back on track.
Did you have such clear thoughts when that first happened? I mean, when you first, well, first of all, you felt you had a lump in your neck.
Yeah, it was visible, actually, not even felt. You could see it.
Did it start? I mean, was it just one night you had this, or is it gradual? How did that progress?
Yeah, it should have been more obvious than I think it was, because it started off as a small lump, and it was right after I kind of thought I had the flu. And from there it started to grow, and it actually started to hurt because it was pushing on the muscles. And that's what I was told by the doctor, that he was convinced it wasn't cancer because it actually hurt me. And the night before the surgery, I took the time to actually start thinking about it, and I think that night, before I even found out I had cancer, was the night I realized I had cancer, because I started realizing that it's the muscles that hurt my neck, not the actual lump.
So you were thinking that before the doctors actually told you that.
So at that point, I kind of thought, I had a bad feeling.
Now your family, obviously, you know, they're supporting you, helping you get to doctor's appointments and such. When you were at that appointment, were you with your family?
I was with my mom at the time, which again was tough because, you know, I drove us home. She was in no position to drive us home, but I tried to make an effort to stay strong for her. But we made a deal that, like, the idea is that, you know, you cry today, that's fine, because it is a tough here, but then tomorrow you have to fight, like, everything. The crying is not going to help at all.
Were you right in fight mode? Or I mean, did you have to take a step back and think, oh my goodness, here I am 20 years old, 21 years old, and I have this, you know, this almost insurmountable fight in front of me? Or did you get right into fight mode? Because you seem like a fighter. You are a fighter.
I think it's like the whole hockey thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think playing hockey since I was 6 years old, that's a lot of pressure, like as a goalie especially. And I don't know, I never really felt bad for myself. I didn't think there was a real reason to. I didn't think I had it that bad. I knew, just really worrying about it, I knew wasn't going to help. But I mean, again, my mom was great. She drove me an hour and a half every day back and forth.
I saw that. And you speak very much about your mom, especially in this news clip that I read. I'd like to touch base on that whole relationship, because I think that's so significant to be able to have a network of people that care and support you. And certainly you speak of your mom's interaction there. When you found out that you had this battle, did you start seeing specialists right away, or what was that like? Did you begin treatment right away, or?
Actually, we had a month off because, again, with the infection, it was kind of tough. Because I mean, I don't know. Still to this day, I don't feel like I had cancer, but I mean, my mom, I think she felt it like from day one, and it was tough for her. But I was just kind of hanging around the house, just doing a couple of last-minute things. My brother kind of wanted to put a little Make-A-Wish Foundation thing together for me, like this is his own personal one. I said no.
You're probably thinking this is
I'm not dying. I'm fine. It was one of those. But I mean, obviously he was trying his best, because I mean, I'm his little brother. You know, it's tough for him too.